Fishbowl on today's episode. Appreciate all y'all that subscribe. Appreciate all y'all that hit the like button, all y'all that drop comments. If you need subscribers or you need a subscriber, because I'm only one person, just go on one of my videos. Let me know that you subscribe to the channel, and I'll come subscribe to you. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. We on our way to 2K subscribers, almost to 100,000. We're gonna get that plaque in the back. It's gonna be a plaque in the back that say 100,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm just speaking it, until it's there. That's all I'm doing. I'm just working till it's there, baby. But I came back, Jack, because I was just riding with a few of y'all. So I came back because after that long trip, I was like, you know what? Early to the delivery, early to the pickup, but we don't want to get lost in the sauce and have the word at the end of the 4-hour live and nobody gets the word. So I said I'll come back on a different live and give y'all the word straight up, just like that, so we can get straight to it. Ain't no whole lot of fluff in between. Hold on, I'm trying to see. That is a nigga too. Oh, let me holler at this nigga. He like he about to go do something. Let me holler at this nigga right quick, man. Product. Yeah, boy. I see potential. Damn, boy, that lets you know. That's why I say, like, when I used to sell CDs, I had this saying I used to say. When I used to sell CDs, I used to be like, man, I used to sell CDs in the movies I'm in. I used to be saying, man, my people meter gonna break. Like, if I meet one more person, my damn people meter gonna break because I met so many people. And I just ran up on dudes, and he was like, man, I seen you yesterday when we was picking up. And I was like, you bought the shirt? Because I don't remember taking no picture of him. He was like, nah, I ain't got it. Then it was a Spanish dude that I just asked him. He was like, he's straight. But yeah, man, hearing that devastating news about, like, no, we're not going to work this out. No, it's not going to be us anymore. No future, none of that shit. That shit had me in a bad space. But it made me, like, realize, like, hey, you been in prison. And I started thinking about that prison trip. I was like, nigga, you survived that shit. Niggas was in that bitch getting raped. Niggas was in that bitch getting killed, stabbed. And I survived, nigga. Booty hole intact. Nobody raped nothing. Nobody touched nothing. Nobody stabbed me. We got in a lot of fights. We got in a lot of riots. But like I say, I ain't get raped. I ain't get beat the hell up. I ain't get stabbed up. I made it through prison. So ain't no way you gonna tell me I can't make it out here without my lady. Like I ain't got my lady and now I can't survive. No, I'm a man. I can survive. I'm good. But it hurts in my head. So I say instead of being in my head and being mad and depressed and all that negative shit, I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna stay on my business. I got this Millionaire Mission business. I got this Focus Cap trucking business. I'm finna get on my business shit and handle my business, cause I ain't gonna lie. Ladies always gonna love on a nigga with that bankroll, you feel me? So I just gotta get my baby bank account together, you understand me? So that's what we doing, baby. Millionaire Mission. We ain't gonna miss a beat with it neither. Like I was trying to be like super calm and super nice and just got the most rudest awakening ever. But I cannot fall in despair. And I ain't gonna hold y'all up. We almost 5 minutes in. I said we getting straight to the read. Let's get to it. What was that? Oh, that was McDonald's. Ain't nothing. You ate that. All right. Father up in heaven, because it's snowing right now. It's snowing, right? A little bit. Father up in heaven, thank you for keeping me safe in this snow in Jesus' name, from harming anybody harming me. I ask that you keep me covered under your wing. Keep me in your peace. In Jesus' name. please keep immediately sending me peace when all this stress come to me. I ask you to give me knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as I read your word. May the person listening get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. May they be encouraged to pick up your word, read it for themselves, and also build a relationship with you and your son, Jesus Christ, in case they're atheists and don't know who their daddy is, in case they're orphan and don't know who Papa is. May they turn to you, Father, up in heaven. I ask you to watch over my family, friends, and even my enemies. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let's get it. What's up? What's up? I do not understand that. You got to type it in English, brother. Got to type it in English, brother. I'm in America. I don't got the translation. I can't translate it. But we in Esther. And this is chapter 3. And if you've been following, Esther is a story of a young lady, and then her mama and daddy was passed away, and her uncle was taking care of her. And the king was throwing a big party, like 180 days worth of partying. This nigga was having a P. Diddy party, a freak off. He was in the Bible having, now I ain't gonna say he was having a freak off, but he was having a big party for a lot of the kings and a lot of the princesses for like 180 days. That's a lot of days of partying, bro. So during the midst of one of the days and during the midst of the party, towards like the end, he was like, he told his E-nunches, I think E-nunches is either guys that cut their nuts off or they just don't have sex because they committed to like God or the king. So that's all they do. They just do God work or they do the king work, but they don't worry about women and having kids and all that shit. So he sent his E-notches to, you know, get his wife. He said, put on the best dress, give her the makeup, give her the cosmetic, all that, and bring her out so that I could show all these other kings what a real queen looked like. And I guess Queen Vajista, she was just tired of the party. She was fed up with it. Like when it first started, she was cool with it. But after like the 3rd month, she was like, you know what? This is too much damn partying. So when he called for her to come, she was like, tell that nigga I ain't coming out there right now. I'm busy doing something in here with these maids. Nigga, we ain't trying to be showing out for all these other niggas. So the king asked the council, what should he do about his wife, his queen, not coming to him when he called for her? And they told him, hey, listen, man, if you don't straighten this chicken, man, all the other chicks gonna hear about this and gonna start disrespecting their kings. So you got to get some straightening right now. Soon as she try, hey, y'all hit the like button. Y'all in here listening to this story. It'll help my algorithm. I appreciate you coming through. Hope you subscribed. And if you need a subscriber, let me know. I'll subscribe to your channel. But hit the like button for me. That's gonna help the algorithm. But what he was saying was, we talking about Esther in the Bible. The king had done told his queen to go get dressed up, put on some makeup, and come out and show all the other kings that brought their queens that your queen ain't bad as my queen. But Queen Vajista was like, I don't feel like showing off, nigga, I ain't coming. So he asked the council, what should I do about this queen that's being disrespectful and not coming when I told her to come? They was like, hey, if you don't check this right now, man, we're gonna have a problem with all these broads. They're gonna feel like they could disrespect anybody because your broad is the queen and she disrespecting you, the king. So you gotta check this in front of everybody or all these hoes gonna start tripping. So he was like, the council told him, we're gonna gather up all the beautiful virgins. We're gonna make sure they clean. We're gonna put the makeup on them. We're gonna put a nice dress on them. Then they're gonna come service you. And whichever one you like, we're gonna let you keep her, and you can keep her and put her in replace of the queen that wasn't listening to you no more. She done been queen too long. She done got cocky in her mind and forgot who the fuck the king was. So they put her ass away. And it did come a time where he was thinking about it like, damn, boy, I miss my baby. But he had the new queen, not Esther. So we on chapter 3. We done got rid of the hard-headed queen. Got a new, younger queen. Let's see if he finna shoot that shit up and get some babies out of Esther. All right, Haman's plot against the Jews. After these events, King Ashura promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and established his authority over all the princes who were with him. All the king's servants who were at the king's gate bowed down and paid homage to Haman. For so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage. Then the king's servant who were at the king's gate said to Mordecai, why are you transgressing the king's command? Now it was when they had spoken daily to him and he would not listen to them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's reason would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage to him, Haman was filled with rage. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him who the people of Mordecai were. Therefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews, the people of Mordecai, who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ashurah. In the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ashur-Pur, that is, the lot was cast before Haman, from day to day and from month to month, until the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. Then Haman said to the king Ashur, there is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of all the other people, and they do not observe the king's laws. So it is not in the king's interest to let them remain. If it please the king, let it be decreed that they be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who carry on the king's business, to put into the king's treasury. Then the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and the enemy of the Jews. The king said to Haman, the silver is yours and the people also, to do with them as you please. Then the king's scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and it was written just as Haman commanded to the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, and to the princes of each people, each province according to his script, each people according to his language, being written in the name of King Ashur, sealed with the king's signet ring. Letters were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy and kill, and to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, women and children, in one day, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to seize the possessions as plunder. A copy of the edict to be issued as law in every province was published to all the people, so that they should be ready for this day. The couriers went out impelled by the king's command, while the decree was issued at the citadel in Susa. And while the king and Haman sat down to drink, the city of Susa was in confusion. Now this is a good book. I like this book of Esther. So we're going to keep reading this chapter 4. Esther learns of Haman's plot. When Mordecai learned all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and wailed loudly and bitterly. He went as far as the king's gate, for no one was to enter the king's gate cloth and sackcloth. In each and every province where the command and decree of the king came, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and many lay on sackcloth and ashes. Then Esther's maidens and her eunuchs came and told her, and the queen wept in great anguish. And she sent garments to clothe Mordecai, that he might remove his sackcloth from him, but he did not accept them. Then Esther summoned Hatshepsut from the king's eunuchs, whom the king had appointed to attend her, and ordered him to go to Mordecai to learn what this was and why it was. So Hatshepsut went to Mordecai to the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the exact amount of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the text of the edict which had been issued in Susa for the destruction, that he might show Esther and inform her, and to order her to go into the king to implore his favor and to plead with him for her people. Hatshepsut came back and related Mordecai's word to Esther. Then Esther spoke to Hatshepsut and ordered him to reply to Mordecai, all the king's servants and all the people of the king's provinces know that for any man or woman who comes to the king to the inner court who is not summoned, he has but one law, that he be put to death, unless the king holds out to him the golden scepter so that he may live. And I have not been summoned to come to the king for these 30 days. They related Esther's words to Mordecai. Then Mordecai told them to reply, Esther, do not imagine that you in the king's palace can escape any more than all the Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this. Esther plans to intercede. Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go assemble all the Jews who are found in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I, my maidens, also will fast in the same way. And thus I will go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away and did just as Esther had commanded him. You gotta give Esther her credit, nigga. She said, if I perish, I perish, but I ain't finna do nothing while they just go murk all my people, and I'm sitting up here with the king. She was like, oh, nah, it ain't going down like that. Let's keep going. Esther ain't playing that, you know what I'm saying? We might run through Esther today, because Esther kind of good. We like Esther, you know what I'm saying? Esther kind of good. We might have to run through that today, you feel me? I ain't gonna hold you. Esther kind of good there, man. We might have to go through that, you feel me? Might have to go through that to do that, to get that, to that, you feel me? For real, for real. What we got going, man? So what we doing? Okay. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and go to chapter 5. Let's see what Esther do. Now it came about on the third day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner courts of the king's palace in front of the king's room. And the king was sitting on his royal throne in the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. When the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, she obtained favor in his sight, and the king extended to Esther the golden scepter which was in his hand. So Esther came near and touched the top of the scepter. Then the king said to her, what is troubling you, Queen Esther, and what is your request? Even to half of the kingdom it shall be given to you. Esther said, if it pleases the king, may the king and Haman come this day to the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, bring Haman quickly, that we may do as Esther desired. So the king and Haman came to the banquet which Esther had prepared. As they drank their wine at the banquet, the king said to Esther, what is your petition? For it shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even to half of the kingdom it shall be done. So Esther replied, my petition and my request, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and do what I request, may the king and Haman come to the banquet which I prepared for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king says. Haman's pride. Then Haman went out that day, glad and pleased of heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, and that he did not stand up or tremble before him, Haman was filled with anger against Mordecai. Haman controlled himself, however, went to his house and sent his friends and his wife Zeresh. Then Haman recounted to them the glory of his riches and the number of his sons, and every instance where the king had magnified him, and how he had promoted him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman also said, even Esther the queen, let no one but me come with the king to the banquet which she had prepared, and tomorrow also I am invited by her with the king. Yet all of this does not satisfy me. Yet all of this does not satisfy me. Every time I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate, then Jeshua his wife and all his friends said to him, have a gallows 50 cubits high made, and in the morning ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on it. Then go joyfully with the king to the banquet. And the advice pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made. The king plans to honor Mordecai. During that night, the king could not sleep, so he gave an order to bring the book of records, the chronicles, and they were read before the king. It was found written that Mordecai had reported concerning Bigthana and Tersha, two of the king's eunuchs who were doorkeepers that they had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. The king said, what honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this? Then the king's servants who attended him said, nothing has been done for him. So the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace in order to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows which he had prepared for him. Ain't God to do it for you? This nigga coming to tell the king to hang the man. The king finna send this nigga back out to bless that boy. That's God working for you. Now, the king's servant said to him, behold, Haman is standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said to him, what is to be done for the man whom the king desires to honor? And Haman said to him, whom would the king desire to honor more than me? And Haman said to himself, whom would the king desire to honor more than me? Then Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor, let them bring a royal robe which the king has worn, and the horse on which the king has ridden, on whose head a royal crown has been placed, and let the robe and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble princes, and let them array the man whom the king desires to honor, and lead him on horseback through the city square, and proclaim before them, thus it shall be done to the man whom the king desires to honor. Haman must honor Mordecai. Then the king said to Haman, take quickly the robes and the horses as you have said, and do so for Mordecai the Jew, who is sitting at the king's gate. Do not fall short in anything of all that I have said. So Haman took the robe and the horses, arrayed Mordecai, and led him on horseback through the city square, and proclaimed before him, thus it shall be done to the man whom the king desires to honor. Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman hurried home, mourning with his head covered. Haman recounted to Joshua, his wife, and all his friends everything that had happened to him. Then the wise men and Zeruiah, his wife, said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish origin, you will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him. While they were still talking with him, the king's eunuchs arose and hastily brought Haman to the banquet which Esther had prepared. Look at God. Esther's plea. Now the king and this chapter 7. We in Esther. Now the king and Haman came to drink wine with Esther the queen. And the king said to Esther on the second day also as they drank their wine at the banquet, what is your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even to half of the kingdom it shall be done. See how Queen Vashista fucked up? She should have just came out when the man told her, hey, put on a pretty dress and do your makeup. Come on out. Let me show these boys a real queen. She was like, no, I ain't coming, nigga. Now look at Esther. He told Esther, well, you can get half of the kingdom. He told her like 2-3 times that shit. You can get half the kingdom. Girl, what you want with your pretty ass, your little fine ass? Girl, your little grippy ass. Come here, girl. Esther, Queen Esther. Then Queen Esther replied, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me as a petition and my people as my request. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. Now, if we had only been sold as slaves, men and women, I would have remained silent, for the trouble would not be consummate with annoyance to the king. Then King Ahasuerus asked Queen Esther, who is he, and where is he? Who would presume to do this? Esther said, a foe and an enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman became terrified before the king and the queen. Haman is hanged. The king arose in his anger from drinking wine and went into the palace garden. But Haman stayed to beg for his life from Queen Esther, for he saw that harm had been determined against him by the king. Now when the king returned from the palace garden into the place where they were drinking wine, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was. Then the king said, will he even assault the queen with me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbonah, one of the eunuchs who were before the king, said, behold, indeed, the gallows standing at Haman's house, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on behalf of the king. And the king said, hang him on it. Hey, he didn't even hesitate. He was like, hang him on it. Nigga, you a nigga, what? You trying to kill my wife or her family? And you trying to rape my wife? Man, hang that nigga on that same gallows he was trying to hang Mordecai on. Yes, sir. So they hanged Haman on the gallows which he had prepared for Mordecai, and the king's anger subsided. Mordecai promoted. We're going to keep going. I told y'all this is a good book. Chapter 8. On that day, King Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther and Mordecai. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had disclosed what he was to her. The king took off his signature ring, which he had taken away from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. Then Esther spoke again to the king, fell at his feet, wept, and implored him to avert the evil scheme of Haman the Agagite and his plot which he had devised against the Jews. The king extended the golden scepter to Esther, so Esther arose and stood before the king. Then she said, if it please the king, and I have found favor before him, and that the matter seems proper to the king, and I am pleasing in his sight, let it be written to revoke the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews who are in the king and all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the calamity which will befall my people? And how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? So King Ahasuerus said to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given the house of Haman to Esther, and him they have hanged on gallows, because he had stretched out his hand against the Jews. The king decree avenges the Jews. Now you write to the Jews as you see fit in the king's name, and seal it with the king's signet ring, for a decree which is written in the name of the king and sealed with the king's signet ring may not be revoked. So the king's scribes were called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan, on the 23rd day, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded to the Jews, the satraps, the governors, and the princes of provinces, which extended from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces. To every province according to his script, and to every people according to their language, as well as to the Jews according to their script and their language, he wrote in the name of King Asherah and sealed it with the king's signet ring, and sent letters by carriers on horses, riding on steeds, steered by royal studs. And in them the king granted the Jews who were in each and every city the right to assemble and to vend their lives, to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate the entire army of any people or province which might attack them, including children, women, and to plunder their spoil on one day in all the provinces of King Asherah, the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. A copy of the edict to be issued as law in each and every province was published to all the people, so that the Jews would be ready for this day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The carriers, hastened and impelled by the king's command, went out riding on the royal steeds, and the decree was given out at the citadel in Susa. Then Mordecai went out from the princes of the king in royal robes. Then Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal robes of blue and white, with a large crown of gold and a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Susa shouted and rejoiced, for the Jews there were light and gladness and joy and honor. In each and every province and in each and every city, wherever the king's command and his decree arrived, there was gladness and joy for the Jews, a feast and a holiday. And many among of the land became Jews, for the dread of the Jews had fallen on them. And we're going to thank God for that reading. I ain't going to even do the positive reading right now. I was trying to stay awake. They got this guy in door 4. They told me when he pull off, I can get on there. He just got on the door, though, so I didn't want to go to sleep because I don't want to miss my call. So I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alarm clock for like 40 minutes, and I'm just going to go ahead and relax and lay down and try to keep my mind on everything positive, everything that's looking up and going good. In Jesus' name, y'all stay prayed up out there. Y'all stay splashing in the fishbowl out there. Stay on the millionaire mission out there. Love your people, because everybody one day going to die. So love them while they heal. You feel me? For real, for real. Hey, show love to those that love you, man. Don't be out here just not showing no love now, because when somebody die, then you're going to be like, oh. Splashing the fishbowl on this episode, Millionaire Mission, man. Millionaire Mission, man. Let's get it, man.